May I now request Dr. Sengupta, who is a well-known scientist and also the National Vice President of the Association, to formally welcome all of you and present the objectives of this workshop.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. Respected Sri J. M. Moskar, Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Environment and Forest and former Chairman of Central Pollution Control Board. Dr. M. B. Lal, Chairman of Environmental Appraisal Committee 2 of Ministry of Environment and Forest and former Chairman cum Managing Director of HPCL. Dr. Hazarika, Director of ONGC. Sri S.K. Gupta ji, Chapter Secretary of IIPC. Dr. R.K. Garg, former Director of BRC and CMD of Indian Rare Earths and also now Vice Chairman of Environmental Appraisal Committee. Sri S.K. Hajra, Expert Member of EAC 2, and all the other dignitaries including Michael Walls, Dr. E.L. Agarwal and other friends from ONGC, IOCs, etc. It is my proud privilege to welcome all of you this morning to this workshop organized by Indian Association for Air Pollution Control and ONGC on a very important topic, that is the implementation of standards and guidelines in oil industry sector. We include both oil drilling and gas extraction sector, oil refineries and transportation pipeline. I will try to brief you about the objective of the conference, and let me start with about our association. Indian Association for Air Pollution Control is a non-profit organization and it is comprising of active professionals working in the field of air pollution control, etc. We regularly publish a journal in which the peer-reviewed papers are included, accepted only. In past, Indian Association for Air Pollution Control has organized this type of workshop, large number of this type of workshop, and the recommendations were sent to the government and other agencies for implementation. Just to highlight some of the workshops which we have organized in past, one is the pollution control from coal-based thermal power station, including the clean coal technology. Then we have organized one workshop on management of hazardous air pollutants. Then one we have organized on VOC control, volatile organic compounds control and assessment. Then we have organized one program on air quality monitoring, noise pollution control, odor pollution control, fly ash management and the current environmental issues. At the different places we have organized all these workshops and sent the recommendation to the government. This time we have chosen a very new topic and a very important one as oil drilling and gas extraction, oil industries, etc. This topic was chosen because it is of great importance, and just to brief you that our GDP, which is growing at 7 to 9%, our oil consumption is also going very high. It will be projected that it will be 7.8 to 8% the requirement of our oil consumption, mainly from the transportation fuel, industrial uses and domestic uses. If you see that our current indigenous coal production, crude oil production is very low. It is about 30 million tons. And we are importing about 100 million tons of crude every year and paying billions of dollars for that. We are fortunately now increasing our domestic production of the crude oil and gas, and especially the KG basin gas which we got. It is giving a great boost to our oil sector, and more oil fields are now being found out, and the oil exploration work is going on. That is the reason why we have chosen this sector for a discussion, especially to manage what are the environment sustainability of oil drilling sector and the oil refinery sector. And also the oil refinery is a very great one in our country. We have the world's largest refinery in India and the world's smallest refinery in the world is in India. So we have a wide range, and present production is touching more than 120 million ton per annum of the refinery capacity we have, and almost every refinery now, if you see the Indian Oil Corporation or HPCL or BPCL, everyone is going for expansion. What we want to touch in this workshop is also the recent MOEF guidelines, MOEF and CPCB guidelines on environmental management. Just to touch one, what are we are going to touch is, one is the notification on the oil drilling and gas extraction, notification issued by Ministry of Environment and Forest under EPA. The notification of the new oil in refineries standard and guidelines is 2009. The previous one was issued sometime in 2005, and later on there is a lot of amendment made, and Ministry of Environment has issued a very comprehensive environmental standards and guidelines for oil refineries in 2009. And many of the things the industry wants a discussion on those, how to implement those standards. Then we have in 2009 a new ambient air quality standard. That is a landmark notification issued by Ministry and CPCB on the new air quality standard, in which the parameters like benzene and polyaromatic hydrocarbons and PM 2.5 are the new parameters are included in that guideline. And some of these parameters are direct relevant to the oil industry. So we want to discuss those things also, which parameters are to be monitored, which are not to be monitored. Then the fourth issue is in the oil sector is the implementation of the fuel quality norms. We have now implementing Bharat Stage 3 and Bharat Stage 4, which is akin to Euro 3 and Euro 4 standard in our country from in 2010. What are the impact of that? Whether our air quality is benefiting. Recently, CPCB has done a very elaborate study on the source apportionment study for 6 cities for PM10. And we will discuss a little bit about what are the implications of that study and how best this fuel quality improvement, especially the Bharat Stage 4 norms, will be benefited for improvement of the air quality. Then also one more issue which we are going to discuss is the recent Ministry of Environment declaration of the 43 critically polluted areas based upon the CEPI, the Comprehensive Environmental Protection which CEPI is developed by Central Pollution Control Board, and on the basis of that the Ministry has put some restriction of the expansion of the industry. Refineries and petrochemicals and pipelines projects are affected due to this declaration of that critically polluted areas. We are going to discuss that one. Then the EIA notification in 2006 was amended in 2008. And there is a Moscow committee report, and which gives certain clarification of the EIA 2006, which also we have covered in some presentation. Then hazardous waste notification is amended again in 2009, and that is the implication of the oil industry, that also we are going to discuss. Then the draft monitoring guidelines, if you see the recently last week, draft monitoring guidelines 2010 for post-project monitoring was issued by Ministry. That is very important guidelines were issued. Although it is in draft stage, but it's a lot of implication about the post-project monitoring, and the oil sector, they have to, now as per the guideline, the monitoring, those we are going to discuss. And finally, the CREP recommendation. In this workshop, we are also going to discuss the environmental pollution control aspects of the oil and gas production, oil refinery and transportation pipeline, and associated risk assessments on that. Then eminent experts working in this area are going to give their technical presentation. On the basis of discussion and followed by presentation, recommendation will be finalized. And some of the areas of presentation, which I am sure that you must have seen in the agenda, includes the following. One is the implementation of standards, guidelines in the oil sector, both the oil drilling and the refinery sector. Then requirement of EIA for exploration of the EIA, exploration of oil and gas sector, whether the exploration work required the EIA or not. Then oil spill contingency plan, preparedness of the major oil fields, especially the Reliance and the ONGC, about the combating oil spill and if anything occurs, what are the preparedness. Then implementation of the new standards, as I mentioned, the 2009 standard by the refineries, which include the VOC emission control from oil refinery. That is coming as a very important parameter. Then on-site and off-site disaster management plans and the post-project monitoring. Here I would like to mention one thing, that the three things which are happening in the world recently, last few months, which is I think the great relevance to the oil sector, is one is the oil spill of about 10 lakhs metric ton of oil spill at Gulf of Mexico. What lesson we have learned and what is our plan, contingency plan, if something happens in our oil fields also. So what are the contingency plan? Then one has happened with the fire in the IOC depot at Jaipur. What are the implications? And one lesson we have learned on that. What is the risk assessment part? I think two experts, Dr. Lal and Dr. Hajra, will include in their presentation. Dr. Hajra will include the presentation because he was a member of that fact-finding committee. Then also the blowout of ONGC at the Andhra Pradesh, that is what lesson we have learned on that. Recent accident in the Bombay High, that is the Bombay coast, the two ships, that is also a lot of oil spill is there. So what are the lessons we have learned on that? And finally the SPCL Vizag fire incident, which I think is very important one, and how best we can prevent this type of accident, that is also we are going to discuss. I think we have a large number of experts who are going to present their views on this. And as I mentioned that Mr. Hajra is the renowned expert on the risk, he will give a presentation. And many other experts who are attending and giving presentation is Dr. P.K. Pan from the Reliance, Mr. Dr. Kanan from the Jamnagar refinery will give the refineries preparedness for the standard implementation. Then Dr. Rastogi from Ministry of Environment and Forest will give a government view on this oil sector. And also it will be chaired by not less than Dr. M.B. Lal and Dr. R.K. Garg, who are renowned experts in these areas. And all this thing will be done under the overall guidance of J.M. Moskarji, who is our presently in charge of the whole IA activities in Ministry of Environment and Forest. He has served as 2 years as a chairman of Central Pollution Control Board. When all the standards were finalized, he was also the Joint Secretary in charge of the Ministry of Petroleum when all the oil exploration work were finalized. So he is the key man here who can give his insight about the whole thing about the oil sector. So with this, I welcome all of you on behalf of Indian Association for Air Pollution Control for this very important workshop. And I will request all of you to kindly give your views on this so that at the end of the seminar, workshop will finalize the recommendation and we will pursue with Ministry of Environment and Forest and Central Pollution Control Board to some of the recommendations for implementation. Thank you very much, sir. And I hand over to S.K. Gupta ji for the next one.